Hey, 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 guess who it is again? We are back, the magnificent duo. This is the Mad Chatter Show. This is our Tainted Tea podcast for those who can catch it on Monday morning. And of course, I like to replay these later in the future just to let you guys know. But this is Maya, formerly known on Fridays as DJ Maya. And I have, we call him Mr. Rogers for the Tainted Tea. But he's also known as DJ Pooh Bear if you ever catch our Mad Chatter show on Fridays, 10 to midnight. So with that being said, see, I want to call you DJ Pooh Bear now. Mr. Rogers, would you like to say hello and let everybody know who you brought for us today so we can get to know this amazing person? I'm super excited.
Absolutely. And again, I will still tell you the same lame joke that I am not even wearing shoes, so I am a different Mr. Rogers. So who we have here is a newfound friend that I made through the amazing Brian Sang, who is, as you know, organizing the Full Disclosure Now conference. I got put in contact with her because I was doing some advertising work for them and found out that this person not only is a whiz with all things internet and organizational, she has some amazing spiritual information as well, is my newfound friend, Jennifer Nunez.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet both of you. And Dawn, it's been such a pleasure working with you behind the scenes.
Welcome. Super excited to have you.
Yes, I am very excited to be here.
So we have been chit-chatting back on the backstage for a minute. So I just wanted you to we can kind of refresh and pick up where you left off because I think that would be a great entrance if you want, just to let people know who you are, what you do, what your magical gift is that you're bringing to the table. And from there, or you can put that last however you like. But yeah, I'm super excited to hear your story. It's all yours. You serve it up however you like.
Thank you very much. Well, the show is about a spiritual awakening, and the business side is a huge part in my spiritual awakening journey. I spent a lot of time working different jobs in the corporate world, from construction administration to the last job that I left, which was event planning for a country club. I was the membership relations coordinator, so I pretty much was the go-to girl. I've been intuitive my whole life, but there was like most people do, I had a not pleasant childhood growing up, so there was a lot of trauma there, which led me down the path of addiction and alcoholism, and I kind of shut those things off for many, many years until I had a divine experience that I call that really was the one thing that got my attention. And I quit drinking. I had an addiction to Xanax. I quit that, quit caffeine, and it was like night and day with me. What ended up happening was my Kundalini woke up. And when that happened, all this information started to flood in. And that was around 2018. So in that process, when I was working at the country club, I kept there was this voice that was talking to me, and it was coming from inside, and it was giving me knowledge that I had not gotten out of a book. So it was a lot of esoteric knowledge that was pouring out of me, and I didn't quite know where it was coming from, but it was telling me to it was like, build it and they will come. And I'm like, build what? So it's with me, it started with dabbling, building a website for myself. But at that time, I didn't know what I was going to offer. Okay. Because I had the tech experience, I had event planning. But when I started connecting with a bunch of different spiritual people and light warriors online, they were sharing their stories and experiences, or they were Reiki masters, some type of mindset along those lines, and I dove into that. Well, so I was actually blessed. I got laid off in November of 2019, and we all know what happened in 2020. Okay. So once that happened, it really gave me, I was like, okay, it's time for me to really figure this out on what it is that I want to do. So to supplement my income, I was freelancing. And through freelancing, I was helping people do website development, landing pages, graphic designing. I'm an artist, so I have a keen eye for doing graphic designing. And I was just learning about copywriting and all these other tools that you can utilize for your business. And at the same time, I got certified to become an Atlantean Reiki, Grand Reiki Master. Mindfulness is one of my tools that I absolutely love to use. I became an Ho'oponopono practitioner. I went into shamanism because I'm really drawn to that. So over the past 4 years, I have been learning both side by side. I was learning the coaching thing on the side because I wanted to promote my spiritual services. But I also noticed that through the journey, people kept coming to me for the tech work. So I like to call myself the techie shaman, because I intermingle both in with what I offer the collective. There's so many different and beautiful people out there who have such amazing gifts to share with the world. What I found and what I hear back from a lot of my clients is that when they do want to package their services, build a website, fix their social media, or learn how to do those things, they're not coming across people who quite understand what they're about. They don't know the terminology. They'll go to Fiverr or these other different companies that they can hire freelancers, but the freelancer themselves don't fully understand what their journey is, especially like in the disclosure community. So, because I have stories about projects and stuff like that as well.
Like good stories, like juicy stories.
Of my own personal story of like what happened to me as a child, being going under programs and stuff like that.
Oh, were you in the SSP?
I firmly believe that I am, and that's one of the reasons why I know tech the way that I do. Is because that was something that was implemented in me. I actually put that two and two together the other day. My handler was involved with computer-based systems and IBM, and he was also a pedophile. So there was trauma. That was another thing that kept me stuck in the bottom of a bottle for many, many years. But once I started to listen to other people's stories and experiences, that's how I put two and two together, that I was implemented in some type of project, as well as pretty much, my stepfather was my handler. And, after he left the picture, pretty much every relationship that I had after that was a handler as well. So there's been a lot of suppression for me. And when I did come across the SSP, I was like, okay, this just resonates way too much. And people were sharing things that I had personally experienced and never told anyone in my entire life. Kathy O'Brien, when she shared her story, especially about her growing up, her stepfather how they find women who are single, low self-worth, have kids, you know, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah,
Kathy O'Brien's story really touched me. I was like, oh my, I listened to her story and I was like, this woman is so brave. Like the details. You know, ironically, a few years back, I saw this crazy commercial come up on, I think it was on the internet, and it was a news thing, and it was like Kathy O'Brien and her husband murdered in their bed late at night in Washington in their home. And then I tried looking for it later and I couldn't find it. And then like I heard people talking about her. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought she died. And then they were like, no, she's still alive. I'm like, are you sure? Like, is it the same Kathy? Is she on the same journey? Like, is this the same person? It's so strange. But I never heard anything else after that. Have you heard anything about that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I somewhat similar remember that, but
It was
the
like not that long ago. Like
yeah,
five.
I know she recently came out with a documentary. I think it was about a couple of years ago. I hadn't watched that. The boyfriend that I had at the time, like right at the very beginning of my awakening, we ended up splitting because he was more awake to the political side of things and I was more spiritual and he hadn't woken up to the spiritual yet. So we just kind of like drifted apart because I was evolving. But he's the one that showed me the documentary. And I think it was the one that she did like in the 80s. It was like in the very beginning, it was old. But I knew as soon as I watched it, I was like, this woman's telling the truth because there were
Right.
key things that she said that I personally had experienced in my journey. So, um, but yeah, it's so much information. I just didn't quite know how to package it all up. What am I going to share with the collective? I wanted to do healing because it was much needed. There's so many people out there that need healing that after 2020 happened, I was freelancing and that was the one thing that just kept coming. It just kept coming up. People kept reaching out to me wanting to help. And so I finally got to a point that I had realized going through the soulpreneur journey, as I call it, it is one of the greatest tools that I have utilized in my spiritual awakening. Because anyone who steps into a leadership role, I mean, whether you say that you have a business or you don't have a business, if you are an influencer, you're going to face things inside of you that are going to come up to the surface. People don't like being on camera. So that's mirror work right there, being on the camera, because you have to work through the mindset, the fear of what other people think, the imposter syndrome, all sorts of different shadows start to come up.
You know
And
what it was for me? My voice. Being able
Mhm.
to like my voice and who it was like it's it's just so
how, when you
weird.
hear yourself, it doesn't sound the same, but
Yeah.
I was like that too,
Yeah.
girl, at first.
I'm like, people aren't going to listen to me. Why am I supposed to be this person? You know, I'm like, why do they want me to like, they put me on this mission. And I'm like, first of all, I have a fear of talking in front of people. I get clammy. I clam up. You know, I'm an empath, so I can feel people's energy. I am not the person to do this, you guys. I feel like Moses, but God, not why me? You know, Aaron's like,
Yeah,
don't
so
worry, we
she
got
hired herself a loudmouth.
this. Say what? What?
It said she hired herself a loudmouth, and that got her through it.
Oh yeah, you? Well, you know, I need somebody who can be on my level, you know, because I'm a Gemini. I'm supposed to have somebody with me. I need my partner. I need someone who can help me, who's got my back. You know, I need eyes behind my head. I need an extra pair of arms. I wanted to ask you,
Well, yeah,
what?
I was just going to tell Jennifer, I don't know if she knows our backstory. My most recent awakening came like September of last year, and it was a series of like 9 days of like military style nightmares. And
Mm.
I've been in the air cadets in this existence, so no military experience. But I was getting killed. I was getting ripped apart by reptilians. I was killing lizards. I was slitting their throats. I was getting my teeth smashed out. It was fucking insane for about a week, right? Finally,
That's
my partner goes, "You need to watch this show." And she gets me to watch Typical Skeptic, and it was an episode with Arkeem Ra,
um,
right? And it was him explaining his SSP experiences. I was like, holy shit, that's really like, I'm not a Montauk kid, but same style of program. So fast forward, I end up on Rob's show. Maya puts me under regression and unlocks everything. And I literally went from, in 3 months, I've gone from like a high school dropout to I'm currently working on a presentation of the holographic matrix explanation.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. I will definitely, when we get off, you're gonna have to share that. I'd like to go watch that podcast. I'm gonna be on Typical Skeptic at the end of this month. I was talking to
Nice.
him yesterday, but I too was the same way. When I had my awakening, it was a divine experience. 3 days of my life was wiped out. I remember going to sleep and I remember waking up in a different location, and my it was in my family's home, and they were telling me that all this stuff had happened, like um crazy stuff. I even had to go to the emergency room. They thought I had been drinking or was under some type of substance, and everything came back clean. There was nothing in my system. But after I had that experience, I knew I could see people following me. I knew that the house was tapped and that there were 3-letter agencies that were tracking me. And the shadow beings, I didn't know it was the Hat Man at the time, but shadow beings were popping up outside of my house. And so I knew that something was going on, and that's when I dove into all of this information, and it just resonated so much that there I
Okay, hang on now. Have you figured out who the Hat Man is? Because I've had a few sessions with people who have mentioned him, but we haven't had a chance to really tap into. I don't think we've ever got an explanation. Do you have an explanation of who he is?
No, I don't fully have an
He
explanation
has
of
a top hat, right?
Yes, how he would appear to me is that when I would get up in the morning, I'm an early riser. So I would leave for work at night, or it was still dark in the morning. And every morning when I would get in my car on my street, when I would look down, there were trees and there was a street lamp there. And there would be this being it was like fuzzed out, but he was wearing like a fedora type of hat. Okay. And there were periods where I could see the shadow like flip up. So, like if he was wearing a trench coat and the wind would blow, the shadows would move. And it would be the same time that the wind would actually move. But I was the way that I described my spiritual awakening was either I was unplugged from the system and had access to my soul avatar, or my soul avatar just came online. But I didn't fear this being. Something inside of me said, "You do not be scared of this." And I just kept commanding it. I was like, "I see you. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're not allowed here. You stay away from my space." And I just kept repeating that. And until I really started to step in on like clearing my space and gridding my property and adding psychic shields, that is when they started to dissipate. But even my little sister at one time, uh, we were standing out on the porch and we saw a shadow dog come across the street. I live across the street from a school, went through the schoolyard, went through the fence, and walked past our house. And she turned to me and she said, "Do you see that?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, but don't worry. He can't come into our property because I already have it. I have it gridded. They're going to hang out there."
And they
So
walked around the grid.
yeah, the dog ended up walking past the house and down the street. And she was like, "Are you
Oh,
gonna do anything?" And I'm like, "No, we're gonna stay here." We're
isn't that so crazy? That is so crazy. Wow.
I
I'm
I
once
think I
wondering,
think
what was
once
that?
once I came
I was
online,
going to
I
say
started to see stuff.
Go ahead, Don. What were
I
you
was
gonna say?
gonna ask you I was gonna ask your guys' take on something because it's just started happening after the last shift we felt in the house here. Um, Both Ray and I have seen another version of me. I've only caught him out of my peripheral. The one day I thought it was Spinjet, and she like double backed on herself and walked back down the hall. And then Ray looked at me and went, "Oh, so you didn't just walk by?" And I'm like, because I was sitting right here. I'm like, "No." I'm like, "That wasn't your mom?" And he's like, "No, she's in the bathroom." I'm like, "What the?" And the other me has woken him up out of sleep by calling him, and I'll be in the other room sleeping. The other me has walked in and out of his room, and he says it's me. Like he will look and see me out of the corner of his eye, but there's two of me in this timeline, or we're very damn close.
Interesting. Like, so it's like your doppelganger.
Literally,
Right?
if
There's
you
something
look
going
at
on.
densities and realities, it's almost like I'm vibrating so close to another reality. Sometimes we skip because, like, he's able to see me. I've seen another version of me walk out of my room, and I was like, "I thought that was your mom," and he's like, "No."
Okay,
So I
so
literally watched it. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say my favorite part of his story that he never mentions is that he's connected to Archangel Gabriel. His higher self is Archangel Gabriel. I got an
Nice.
angel. I got angels on my team, let me tell you, right? And
Yeah.
so
When he
he's
gets
got
excited, he
quite the
stutters.
story coming. I'm telling you, Don, you've got quite the story. But they're
Well,
so humble,
Oh, I'm right with
these
that.
new awakenings. They're so humble. They're like, I'm like, you gotta let it out, own it.
That
yeah,
was
we
another thing I want to talk to you about off camera is the fact that you're in publishing because I'm in the midst of a book.
Yeah, absolutely. We will definitely have to talk. I can help you out with it. I did the podcast with Brian. He said that he had a friend that was having trouble getting the book published on Amazon. And where my genius zone comes in is that I've learned so many different aspects that I can pull in, like, okay, well, let's try this, and this. So, uh, definitely. And that is what I'm here for, is to help share what my knowledge is with the collective to help support others get their missions out, because it is much needed. A lot of us have unique stories. It helps resonate with each other. And when all start to come together and we realize that we are bringing something to this master puzzle that we're building, we each have something to offer. It's not one person's story greater than the other. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's funny because you hear that on a lot of podcasts and it's within our general community. I've heard a lot of people on FKN say it. I've heard Rob Khalil say it. I've said it. It's literally, you got to get over being right or wrong because everybody knows a little bit and it's where it overlaps is what we're actually looking for. Right?
Yes.
You got to step up modality, your belief, because as soon as you get a belief, you get religious about it, you get idealistic about it, and you stop looking at other things. Right? For me, I woke up and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm in the SSP," and I freaked my partner out. She's like, "Are you coming back to reality? Because you're starting to scare me." And like, I ended up literally going, "Wait a minute. Well, if the SSP is real, then that means that shit I heard about dragons is probably real. Those ghosts are probably real. That's probably, oh, I want to know about all of it." And that's how I ended up doing podcasts. So,
And you fell down the spiritual rabbit hole because I swiped them right up. I'm like, come on.
Oh,
And I have them on my team now. We have the Cosmic Crusaders, and we do time traveling and space travel, and we found out that we're in the future in this SSP program. So there's a whole nother aspect to this as well. Be careful, don't play it that way. Sorry.
oh no, it's okay. Oh yeah, what fragment of us is doing whatever in another dimension?
yeah.
But one of the biggest tools that I do utilize with my clients is what's called human design. I don't know if y'all have heard that, but it to me, when I came across it, and even a lot of human design readers are not at that level of awareness of seeing what's happening on a higher level, but it helps you understand what avatar you are driving in. So whatever your vehicle is going to play a part. And every time that I do dive into human design, or I'm in my experiment and I learn more about myself, something happens and I'm like, oh, there it is again. But going through the entrepreneurial journey, I mean, just stepping into a leadership role, like you said, Dawn, you have to get out of yourself. You have to get out of the negative thinking. You have to get out of all the, when we were younger, when we tried to speak our voice and someone said, oh, that didn't make sense, or, called us names and shut it down. It's not about anybody else at the end of the day. We all came down here with a specific mission, and it is our job to awaken to who we are, break through all the programming that's been put into us, and really start to share what we have to offer the collective. And that's as easy as it is to say, it's not quite easy to do at the same time. Again, with human design, I'm a 5/1 manifester, emotional manifester. So I'm here to cause an impact. And the 5/1 is what's called the heretic investigator. It's also known as the general. So I can see the heretic side of my profile play a lot in my growing up. When I'm in the projection field all the time, and with my intuitive gifts, I'm able to read what the other person is projecting. But if I'm not clear in my communication of what I do, that, people can be like, you're not fulfilling what I say, or whatever. I mean, a lot of us who are sharing truth are heretics because we're going against the grain. But that has allowed me to really step into my authenticity and work on not giving a fuck what other people think and just sharing what I have to share. And that has taken me personally some time to do, because I have PTSD of certain experience, especially when I was bullied as a child when I was younger. That's where that has come in. So that always comes up of like worried about what other people think, especially in my community, because even though we may not have fit in the 3D realm, we still want to be able to commune with each other and understand that we're all coming from different spaces so that we can help the bigger picture that we're here for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's an amazing
No, it
journey.
just my ears perked up when you said human design, because I've been on like I've been doing my journey and collecting information, I'm an industrial sewing machine operator. And so during the day while I'm at work, I listen to various podcasts, and it's really interesting how it's changed, because there were some podcasters that I was listening to, but they did a lot of pay to play. They would give you a little bit of information and then you had to subscribe to get the rest of it. And it's like, I don't have the money for this. I have questions. And so that's actually how I moved on, because, you know, like that's how I found Rob and like this whole community, because it's like, I didn't really feel like, yes, absolutely be compensated for your time, but I kind of felt like I got gatekeeper vibes from them. And it's like, I'm not going to be giving you guys any money because I know the information's out there. And so this is great, because, you know, like I was wondering, because they're also trying to sell a program, you know, like $5,000 and they'll solve everything for you, right? And so, you know, I was also kind of wondering how legit it was, or if it was just, you know, part of the snake oil sales. So thank you for this. I'm going to have more questions.
Oh yeah. The way that I see, so astrology is as above. It does impact us below because we are all made of the planets and the star stuff. But if you want to know how those planets are influencing you inside, it's human design. That is as below. Because what human design basically is I am reading your DNA. You have certain gates that are inside of you that are attached to the 64 chromosomes in our DNA strand. And those things that are active are going to be influenced by the planets. And that is how you're going to interact in the world. With me, I've been in my experiment. That's what it's called. Your experiment is like when you first learn about who you are in human design, your profile type, what you're here for, your incarnation cross, and all of that. And you take a step back and you're mindful, you're living in the moment. And when you witness it happen, then with me, I was like, oh shit, okay, there's something to this. And the more it kept happening and the more that I kept helping other people and kind of looking at their chart, then I would see that happen with them. I'll give you an example. You know how we'll go through life and we'll do something, okay? And it happens, and then we ask ourselves internally, well, why did I just do that? Or when you're talking and you're like inside, you're like, shut up, shut up, shut up. But your mouth just da 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 da, and it just keeps coming out. That's can be contributed to your human design. So, and it goes deeper. I'm a 5/1. So the one side of me, which is internal, is the investigator. I investigate everything. And one of the things that I have been investigating is, you know, human design will explain how we interact as a tribe. So there's a reason why the word penta is made, because when you get 3 or more auras together, what that does is it creates an energy above us, okay? That is called the penta. And the penta develops its own consciousness that influences us. You know how if you are wanting to talk to someone, or you're going to be talking in a group, and you play what you're going to say over and over and over and over in your head. But then when you get into the conversation, it kind of just all goes out the window, because you start to act a little bit different when you're around people. Well,
Yeah.
guess what's influencing you? Their aura, how they're influencing you, and the penta that you two are creating. And a lot of people who do house clearings, hauntings, you can feel it when there's an argument in the room and you haven't been there, but you walk in and you can just sense that energy. That's the penta that has been stored. So the penta actually connects to a greater thing called the wall. And that's how I feel like they are controlling the masses, is that this is really ancient technology. that they know about. They obviously know about astrology. I'm sure as hell they know about human design, and they're able to tap in and influence the wall, which influences everybody's different penta. How they do it, I haven't quite figured it out. And this is something that I'm still personally investigating. But when I'm in a group of 3 or more, I pay attention to that. And this is why when you meditate together, what happens? I mean, if a group of people meditate in a location, crime drops. Well, those people who are meditating are influencing the penta positively. So the people who are not involved in the meditation are still feeling it because etherically the information is going. Okay. So I am trying to work on how do we tap into this energy? How do we go about clearing the negative pentas that have been in our collective for a very long time? Or how can we shift that energy as well outside of shifting the energy within ourselves? Oh, you're
Wow.
muted.
Something I had mentioned to Maya, and that kind of leads into this, is if she did like mini session guided hypnosis and put them up on Facebook, or so I've actually used a couple, and it's changed the energy in the house in the last couple of days, right? Because when you come out of this mini session hypnosis that I found on YouTube, and I know Maya could blow the pants off of this lady, like you just come out of it so damn refreshed, and it changes the way the house is. The last couple of days, Spin and I have been like, I slept wonderfully. How about you? And she's like, yes. And then she'll go to work in a much more positive, it is a beautiful thing when you realize there's an actual ethereal energy just in your personal space.
Is it just y'all two in the house, or do y'all have little ones running around?
There's a 16-year-old, but
Okay,
he's heavy into this stuff too.
well, then that's 3 of y'all that, that are influencing that energy. So what you're doing is you are helping shift that. So then therefore the vibe in the house is shifting as a whole. It's
Now, question, and I'm going to interject a question here. What
yeah,
about the dogs? Because they have 2 dogs, and one dog out of nowhere started like biting, and he got kicked outside. But he's so happy outside now. It's really strange. It's almost like he was trying to say maybe that, or I don't know. Do you think the dogs could affect the energy as well? They're little
absolutely. Everything on this planet has a human design. Dogs,
Yeah, like
animals, plants.
Ooh.
my one dog went after the
So do
puppy
you
so bad, I was breaking them up, and it bit me. So I had to put him outside. Like it was either that or get him put down, and I wasn't about to do that. We've had him for 4 years, and he made a mistake, but he was just getting so aggressive by being confined. His energy was just off. Like he's an older dog, and I was actually pulling energy out of him. Like it was kind of funny. Before he got all weird, I would actually do Reiki on the dog, and he would thank me when I was done by kissing me. Right? He would literally let me
Yeah.
know when it was all gone, and he would kiss me on my face. But I think it got so much of his negative energy or whatever's going on inside of him, he turned. Like, and it's not acceptable when there's other people and other animals in the house. So I had to put him out. But he lives in the garage and he's happy as
He's
hell.
happy, yeah.
Yeah.
So how I like to look at human design as well is what it teaches you is to get out of the mind. Okay? Because this does not know shit, really. It can be your best friend and your worst enemy. But we can study in the animal kingdom that no one's telling the dog that it's not a dog. No one's telling the dog, that it needs to behave a certain way or anything like that. When something is off, it instinctually knows by the feeling it gets in the body. Our body does the same, and that's what human design teaches you. So in those type of cases, right now, the animals, I will say there's something off. They are picking up on something that's either coming in, whatever is happening in our sky, all this stuff they're picking up, because my cat I have a cat too that's been acting a little bit of aggressive lately as well. And I don't quite know exactly what is causing it, but I do feel like I watch her because I know that she is picking up on something that I may not quite be picking up on my senses as well. So just, I mean, good for you for, doing that. And it seems to be happier outside. It may have
Yeah,
done that so that it could be outside because it's protecting y'all from something. You never know.
that might
Yeah, and he
be.
is loyal too. Like,
Yeah, that's the shame of it. He's so loyal and loving, but he just got pissed off and bit me one day. And I was like, okay, you can't be in the house. Like, but no, it actually makes sense because like we're all frequency sensitive. So, and big surprise, I'm pretty sure I'm a TI, so that would make sense.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
TI, what's that?
Targeted individual.
Oh, well, let me tell you,
Yeah.
I was told that I was told that the Galactic Federation spies on me.
I was told all sorts of
And
people spy on me.
yeah, they said because I was sitting one day at the light and I try to talk in my head and see who's psychic around me, who listens. And people turn their head, they look at me crazy sometimes. I had one lady cuss me out across the street. I'm like, oh, she heard me. And homeless, especially the homeless, they're wide open. But what was I going with that? This girl just distracted me.
TI, targeted
Oh,
individual.
yes. So they said, do you ever notice when you're at the light and people walk by and look at you strange when you're stopped at the red light when they walk across the street? And I said, yeah, I actually thought about that a few times. The thought came across my mind a few times, and I thought maybe it was just a whatever thought. But and then I was getting ready to do a interview with these two, and see, they're trying to get me to stop talking right now.
They do that to me too.
I was getting ready to do an interview with these two aura practitioners, and my car started acting funny. I heard a sound, and it was like my body wanted to make a U-turn. They were trying to get me to make a quick U-turn, and I resisted. And instead of going left, I went right and pulled over because I felt like I was energetically battling something. And I pulled over for a second, and I heard somebody yell in my ear, like, get out the truck and look. And I was like, fine. And I opened the door. I literally threw the door open like I was arguing with somebody in the car. I looked underneath, and my car was where the tire is, whatever that bar is. Two things. It looked like vertebrae right on top of each other, getting ready to slip. And if I would have turned, the car would have fallen apart like pieces. It would have literally fallen apart. It would have fell right there. And it was in the middle of a busy street. So I would have got smacked and hit. Who knows, probably killed. But and as soon as I told my practitioners, teachers, I said, hey, I'm in the middle of a problem right now. I can't make the interview. And then so one of them went under, because that's what she does. She went under and looked and scouted to see what was going on. And she said there was a drone, an Archon drone, that was attacking my truck. And so they called in the Legion of Dragons. The dragons came in, circled it, and took it out. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. So I have been targeted. And then after that, I met a sister who's my twin soul sister, because I'm a Gemini, and apparently I'm a daughter of Isis, and we're the twins. And so she's the other twin. And when I met her, like all this stuff came online or whatever, but she told me that I was given a crystal, and this crystal is connected to my Pleiadian side. And they said that the Andara crystals are very powerful and protective. So they told me where to go, specific person to go to get the crystal. And that when I had my crystal with me, and I probably shouldn't be saying this to everybody, but I'm like, whatever, that it keeps me like invincible, or what did they say? Not invincible. They said, was it invincible? Invincible to harm? Something like that. that I was super, super protected. But they told me you have to take the crystal, you have to wrap it with copper around a staff, you have to hold it up, you got to tap it on the ground 3 times, you got to hold it up to the moon. Like there's this whole ritual about it. And the angels told me to do this. And I'm like, okay, okay. So it's interesting, all this stuff, like the targeting, the protecting. That's one thing. I love that you mentioned the shielding, protecting, and the gridding, because that was the first thing that I came across in my journey was the protection, the grid. I heard it. Go get the grid. I started doing grid. I made grid jewelry. I make grid jewelry all the time. I put intentions up. But I try to tell people, but I don't know. I feel like everybody is on their own journey, and whatever they come across on their journey is meant for them. So it's kind of hard, you want to share everything and tell everybody, but I just don't know anymore.
But that was one of the first things that they taught me how to do. And it's so important that you do that. And you'll notice a difference. Like one time it was like 555 on my timer. One time I was like spring clearing my house, and I put sigils outside my door. So the way that I grid my property is I have a main grid, a grid inside of that, my doors gridded, my room gridded, my bed gridded all the way down. And then I shield myself. And my little sister was also, she's coming online. She was waking up and she was helping me do the house, and she's watching me do all my stuff. And someone came over and they couldn't walk through the front door. And she was like, "Oh, holy shit. This is true. Like, what did you do?" And I was like, "Well, they obviously have an attachment or something, but the energy is saying, do not enter. You're not welcome. Stay out." And then she had to go outside. And lo and behold, it was one of her friends. And 2 weeks later, they had a really nasty blowout. And she came back and she was like, "You were right about what you picked up on them." Like, she's like, "I can't sit there and say that I didn't know, because there's been times where I've, internally I picked up on something, but, gave someone the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they had a bad day." And I was like, "No, they have an attachment, and you can't go up to that individual and say, 'Hey, you got an attachment, and let me help you remove it.'" They have,
They're filled with reptilians.
yeah, right. Well, man, I've schooled her in that as well.
Just for those who don't know, how do you grid? Like, where would you learn something like how to put up your grids?
Crystal grid.
Okay. How
That's what I went to.
how I grid is I was instructed to go get graveyard dirt. So graveyard dirt is very, very powerful and using for warding off negative entities. Now, I don't, when I say that, some people are like weird about that. There is specific dirt at the graveyard that you get. You don't go dig up anybody's grave, and you don't pull from anybody that you don't know. I got to stress that. Warning. Where I got mine was right, when you cross the gates into a graveyard, when you step onto that ground, it's sacred ground. That is why every indigenous culture out there did not want anything built, or you don't live on that burial ground. So I get the dirt on the outside, and what I did to start off with was quartz crystals wrapped in copper. I made, when you go to the crystal store, they'll give you those little bags that you can put them in. I took bags like that. I filled it with graveyard dirt. I do salt with rose petals. I make my own. So rose petals, rosemary. You can add some other stuff to bring in positive things as well. Just look into different herbal books. And if you guys don't know, people can reach out. And I just made little bags with the quartz crystals, salt, graveyard dirt. You can add your own personal sigils in there. You can add charms if you have a lucky charm or anything like that. And I buried them in the ground in the four corners of my property. Then I go sage my yard because I'm cleaning out the energy. So I do a whole saging outside, and I do a whole salt grid around. And I put up an invisible shield, and I do that in my mind's eye. I just get centered in my yard. I pull down the energy. I get grounded. And how I do it is when I pull in my energy, I in my mind's eye, I'm like a pole. And when I pull in the energy, I have it start to wrap around me so that the energy gets going. And then I do a bubble. So I take my Taurus field and I shoot it out of my head and I bring it all around my property. And that's my like invisible grid. And just salt your property and do it just layer by layer by layer by layer. If you, I've done this too. If you really want to know that someone has an entity, and it's like you're in a relationship, throw salt underneath your mattress. Okay. I have salt underneath my mattress so that they can't get it. But people who have entities, when you throw salt underneath their mattress, guess what? They're not going to be able to sleep. They're going to have trouble sleeping. I've had people come back and report that, they can feel something in the bed. Yeah, sorts of things. But that's how I keep my, when I'm sleeping, because we are mostly attacked in our sleep, that I have salt underneath my bed. Another tip that I utilize as well that most people don't think about is water. Okay. So most people will have a glass of water next to their bed. And they go to sleep, they wake up in the morning and they drink it. Well, what do you think they did with that water at night? So I always keep a crystal. I have my pie stone on my cup, and I always keep either a crystal under it to protect it. I don't either have water at night, or I have it protected with my crystal on here. So I try to, and it's maintenance.
Yeah. Just a footnote, I actually used to work in a graveyard, and yeah, I dug them. If you ask me real nice, there's probably an excess pile. They'll probably let you take it because there's usually excess dirt from where they, the casket displaces something. So you have excess. So
That's
if you ask nice, they may just give it to you. So
thank you,
Well,
Dawn.
That's funny. The way I grid, that's cool. I like your style. I love how we all have our own ways. What I did for me was I found a well, actually it was a little boy. It was a little boy. Have you seen that little boy online? The little 7-year-old who talks to crystals, and he does crystal grids, and he teaches how to do the crystal grids, and that's who I learned from. And I just went and found the books, and then I started looking at the crystals and what they do. And so I was like, okay, if I want protection for this, or if I started doing healing. So one of my friends had she had a brain tumor, and she had brain cancer, and we all freaked out. So I went into making crystals to help with brain tumors and stuff like that. And believe it or not, they came up with a list for me, and I put some jewelry together for her. And I'm not going to say that my jewelry is the one that did it, but let me just say, after a while I talked to her, she said she was fine and she didn't have any problems. And I said, how is this possible? What did you do? What else did you do? I'm not going to say that it was me, but I like to think that there's powers in the crystal grids. I'm like to think maybe it could be possible, maybe a little bit help. I don't know, but I do. I like to do the salt too. I was also told to when you sage, to add something sweet to the air, because sage is like equivalent to bleach. So when you start saging things and clearing things, you have to add something sweet to the air. But I do the saging, the smudging. I do the intention grids. I do the levels like you do, like the onion layers. I call in my angels. I place angels on the property, on the doorways. I call in my dragons. Yeah. I work with the elementals a lot. I live, so, you
Yes.
know, but yeah, you have to. Anyway, it's all about your intention. Whatever works for you, it's your style, it's your intention. You just have to do it. That's all it is.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. That is the most important thing. A lot of people get hung up with, am I doing this right? Or is this, it is your intention. You are a powerful fucking being. Once you remember that and you pull back your power and you say, no, you're not going to do this. You know, I am in control. You have no power over me. We all remember Labyrinth. Most of us, you know, what did she say? You have no power over me, and just keep saying that with your intention, and it does work. But
Say
they
it 3 times, they said. The power
yeah,
of three. Do everything 3 times. The unicorns told me, when you shield, you can shield with any sacred symbol. I use bubbles and triangles. But yeah, whatever. Some people want to use hearts. Whatever. Just imagine that you are safe and protected and invisible to harm is what I always add.
yes, that's a great one to add. That is
Yeah.
a great one, and I
Because you
love that
can
you
still
work with
be
the elemental.
protected, right?
Mhm.
Because you can still be protected, but they're like, oh, look at that angel walking down the street with his big sword dragging along the way. You know, like, I don't want to be seen, you know? I want to be
Mhm.
invisible. Like, here I come. Because
Yes.
we get to slay the archon. So I get to have fun with them. I'm like, let's go. But, you know, everyone else, we deal with love and kindness and things like that. But the angels do carry swords, so there is a real battle. There is a fight still. So we have to keep our shields on and protected and invisible, because you don't want to be battling all the time. Everywhere you go, you want to stay invisible. Have you ever walked through a crowd and feel like nobody sees you, and they just the everybody just opens for you
No.
sometimes? Or sometimes you get gridlocked and you can't go nowhere. You're like, how did I get trapped here? You gotta has that ever happened to you?
For I try to be invisible. Through my human design, it's very magnetic. So I am one of those that can walk into a room and I get that attention. But I also do a cloak over me so they don't fully know. But because I'm a manifester, I recognized this when I was younger in high school. I can part a hallway. And you know, and I actually proved that to my friend. We went to Austin this past weekend to go see the Human Garage, which fascinating mission he has with healing. And it was a room full of people, and I said, we were trying to get through the crowd, and I said, well, watch this. And all I had to do was inform, and when I informed that I was coming through, I could actually see other people like get out of my way. So she's like, that's pretty cool. And it's only because the way that my aura is specifically designed that I utilize that way.
Do you
Um,
teach
would
the
you
human design? Sorry.
Mom, come on.
Do you teach the human
go ahead.
design?
I do the basics to get you started. I have someone that I recommend that has been doing it for 16 years, that can actually go into like a deeper level. But how I utilize it with my clients is really for them to understand who they are, you know, what's called their strategy and authority, so they can navigate through life better, and how they can implement that in their business or their mission. And I also pull in astrology to tie that in as well, so they can get crystal clear. And you know, most of the time they may not understand it at first, but I've had a lot of clients come back and be like, oh, okay, I'm starting to follow, you know, what you said, just by your strategy and authority. I mean, when anybody out there who has come across human design, that's the first thing that you really want to know, what type you are, and you know, what your strategy and authority is underneath that, because there's 4 different types that are on the planet. We see this in the animal kingdom as well. You have the queen bee, you have the people that are close to the queen bee, you have the worker bees, and then you have another set that does another job. We as humans are basically set the same way. And when you find out what that strategy is, you can start to implement it or practice with it in your own life. And when that comes true, then we can dig deeper into other things. So
Nice. Awesome. Dawn, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was gonna ask when you were talking about that spread, like splitting the hallway thing. I've Part of what I've been researching lately. Do you think that would be because you're emanating a specific magnetic frequency or vibration?
that too, yes.
Okay, like I
Yes.
know because when we feel a certain way or intend a certain way, it emanates a certain vibration, and I was just wondering how much of that you thought or may think that is tied in.
No, I think it's fully tied in because what's happening is that information is also within your aura. And so the different types in human design is based on how your aura is designed. So we all have an aura, but our aura kind of functions differently, and that has the frequency and information, and other people may not be aware to what's happening, but their aura is picking up on it. So they may get a certain feeling inside, and that's what kind of causes it, because the aura is going to be the first thing that anybody feels when the two auras get together. That's the before the physical contact happens, it's the aura contact.
Okay,
Great,
Well,
Chris.
just weird,
go
just
ahead.
weird random thought popped in my head. I heard once that that's why babies look above you before they look you in the face.
Yes, I believe
Yeah,
that too. Because they're
yeah,
full on, you know? They
yeah.
don't have that programming that says that they're not, you know, all the shit that they program us with.
Well, yeah. It was just a weird random fact that I picked up. But yeah.
Sorry. Um, oh my God, my mind keeps getting wiped. What were we just saying? Um,
We're talking about auras.
what was that?
We were talking about
Auras.
auras.
Yeah, no, the last thing you just said, I was trying to keep it in my mind and then think at the same time, and I lost it. It just dropped out of my hand. The last 5 seconds.
He had asked about, you know, if because the frequency was raising,
Right.
do you think other people can pick that up within your aura?
Oh yes, okay, now I know what I was gonna say. So I think that's what they said. Why the whole crotch nine, I call it crotch 19 because I got it from Sloan Bella. Go check her out, Sloan Bella. She's a riot. So I think that's why crotch 19 was such a big deal, because at the same time, what were they doing to the human race, right? And then they were trying to prevent us from getting together so that way we can, because they were saying that within 4 feet, once you started getting into someone else's field, you can feel something just wasn't right. And that was a lot that was going on. So I knew right then and there was something there with 3 feet of the auric field. And then who did we just see? We saw somebody. I was watching somebody do something. Was it Karen Holton? She was showing
Yeah, it was
Dawn. Explain
yeah.
that part, because I don't know if you saw that, but that was so cool, right? Wasn't she showed you how far your auric field went, how it just
Yeah, it's
spread and then got shorter, right? Was that you guys that she did that to?
yeah, it's a type of divining. You have to use an actual metal coat hanger, and she'll get it or a pendulum, and she'll get it in tune with your heart chakra frequency at a neutral state, right? And walk backwards, and you just hold it in the one line in your hand very loosely. And when it flops to the side, it means that's as far back as you went, right? So then she had us, think of something terrible. Well, for me, I have a friend that needs a double lung transplant that's probably not going to make it. So, of course, that's where I went. She tried it. She didn't even get to step backwards, and the thing just went boom. She got me to think of something happy, which is the future we're both trying to manifest for ourselves. And I put myself in that state of mind, and you could go back like 20, 25 feet before it would turn to the side.
Yeah.
because it's
I
magnetic frequency, right? So, yeah.
yeah, I think our aura is really, really powerful. And I think a lot of people don't fully understand that aspect of it, and the
Right.
energy that we emit, and the frequency that we put out in the collective, that the more we do go through this spiritual awaken, and we start to work on ourselves, and we raise our vibration, it's powerful. It's amazing to watch. I've, just been investigating and observing, our community, and I can see it, and you can shift a lot of things with it. So thoughts are everything.
Yes. What?
Something that,
Sorry, Don.
oh,
Go ahead.
I was going to say something that popped up in my head recently is the saying you rubbed somebody the wrong way. Like, is that literal? Because if you're too high vibration and you walk past somebody that's pissed off, they're going to look at you like, you son of, and you didn't even do anything. It's just that you're having a fantastic day and the vibrations were so off. I've seen people sneer at me for nothing,
Yes.
absolutely nothing other than being freaking happy.
Well,
And it's like,
Archangel Gabriel,
why?
what do you expect? Your energy is like poof. You come through, it hits everybody. But you know what they told me? Because I found this out with my daughter. Because I was like, why does my daughter fight with her dad? It's like, it's like craziness. And so they said it's their entities. His entity and her entity don't like each other, and so they were battling each other. So I called in my sisters, the Aura sisters, and we got rid of them. She had a reptilian that was trying to like puppeteer her because I sealed her. It wasn't able to fully attach onto her, so it was in her aura field. It was like flying a kite. It was messing with her, and his was in his body. So he was having body aches and stuff. But the funny thing about it was they said to me that, because I said, why is it when I just send her love, I comfort her when she gets like the monster comes out, I just like shower her with love, and then she'll like cry and get mad. And and they said that's because when you give them love, that's your superpower. It burns the entities and it hurts them and it makes them act out. And that's why the person gets irritable and lashes out. And I was like, oh my goodness. After I found that out, I handled it all. I'm like, okay, we're going to fix the situation. And now, like, when I walk wherever I go, I'm like a walking, beaming sparkler. I just constantly send love out wherever I go so I can keep them back a little bit. Stay back. I'm coming through, and if I see dark clouds in the sky, I just start sending them love because I know the dark ships, the negative ships hide behind the dark clouds, they said. And so so that's our superpower, is the love, but it burns them. That's why they'll snarl at you. And yeah, anyways, that's what I heard.
No, I think you're exactly right on that. And thank you for sharing. I had earlier in my journey, I remember getting into it with somebody, and I knew that it was their entity, and I literally looked at them and I said, "Look, your demon and my demon's about to go toe to toe, and that is not going to be pretty." Like, I just called it out, like, before I was sending love. What I do now when I come across people like that on the street that are irritated with me, I will look at them and send that love and smile and say, "Hey, I hope you're having a great day," and mean it.
Yeah.
And I have actually seen people be just shift in that moment to where they'll smile back at me and it makes their day, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the power to do a lot of shifting when you are not reacting to what's happening outside of you. The mindset shift that I like to say is that, life is happening for you instead of to you. And when you start to apply that to the situations that are happening outside of you, you can, I mean, we're powerful beings. We have the capability to shift the planet. It's just really making sure that we are implementing it in these times of you have a disagreement with somebody, you're walking out in the collective. I'm still working on this when I get in the car. That's where all my spiritual work goes out the window, is driving in Houston, but I'm working on it.
I have a Ganesh on my dashboard, so it removes the obstacles, and I got a prayer flag hanging in my truck. I got crystals everywhere, evil eye protection. My car I'm in a lot, so I stay shielded and protected. But yes, that is also wonderful. Would you like to let everybody know where they can find you? I enjoyed this so much. I'm looking forward to our next time we get to chat. But would you like to
Absolutely.
let everybody know where they can find you, and any information you'd like to share? Last words.
Sure. My real simple website. My company is called, or my school that I'm building right now is called Rise Innerversity. And to find it, all you have to do is just go to jointheriseevolution.com, and that will take you to my website, and people can find me. There is a chat bot there. If you want to send me a message, or you can find me on Facebook, Jennifer Nunez. Rise Innerversity is on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok. So I'm pretty much all over the place, but I'm not that hard to find. But if you go to jointheriseevolution.com, you'll be able to find all my links.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this so much. Mr. Rogers, you got any last words?
No, you can catch all of my content on Rumble and YouTube at March 4th Productions, and it's the number 4 with TH. Canadian Spinja's stuff is available on her channel at Canadian Spinja, and she is on Facebook as Canadian.Spinja.
And Instagram.
And Instagram. And like I said, you can add me, just don't be a freaking weirdo.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, you guys. I don't want to keep you all night. I enjoyed this so much. Blessings and infinite love to everybody. Remember, stay shielded and protected. Go light workers. So say bye, everybody.
Bye.